go actually on this one and introduce the main man who we finally had to kind of show off, and I say show off, but we had to give the hardest time to, and we, we're now bullies, I guess, in chat team. We all are now considered bullies. Yep. If you've never been a bully in your life, we are now bullied. Because here, let's welcome the man, the myth, the legend. Thank you so much, TimZ, as I call him. But Tim, thank you so much for joining, boss.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Oh, big time. Glad, super pumped to have you here. Hopefully everyone can hear you in chat. I think it sounds good. I don't think there's anything. We got that checked beforehand. So it sounds like everything is good to go. Yes. Usually they're going to let you know right off the bat. Me being in radio, let me tell you right now, and all the stuff I've done in the past and even in this, they're going to let you know right off the bat. Sounds like crap. Good there's an echo. I'm just kidding. But yes, thanks for having you in chat. And look, there's no Homer Simpson GIF up. I was thinking I'd just have this nonstop. It was just going to be a GIF of you.
With my camera.
Yeah, right. All right, so now that we're already, of course, I got this recorded, rocking and rolling here, I want to get into it. And I know the main thing, and that's the main thing I want a lot of traders to get into, is that, like I call relation confirmation, but just talking and hearing from someone else and then relating to that, essentially. So let's get into it. Like of course, like Matt, like Alex, like Jay last week. And now, and by the way, real quickly, which is awesome, you spawned everyone else. Now 419 Tech says, yep, he's good to go. So now 419 Tech's coming tomorrow. So Miss Boss, it looks like you're going on Thursday now.
There you go. Yeah, I'm interested in her liquidity trap stuff. It's something I've been looking into. You always try to educate yourself with as much as you can and focus on one thing for a while and then move on to the next thing after you get that first one mastered. So
and I love that. That's exactly what I've been telling a lot of traders. Exactly, that's the best thing to do. So that's awesome. That's the one you've been moving into. So let's honestly overall, and I'll make this a little bit easier right there. Get this little guy.
Not that I'm a master of anything.
Well, as long as we can get close to being one. All right, so let's get into it.
Right.
Just like the traders from last week is the main thing. Tell us the struggles early on. Where'd you start? How'd you start? What year was it? Tell me that. Well, like most traders, they want to know that, the time frame. When'd you start? How long you been doing it for? Just tell us everything up till now. Give us your best background of Tim.
I will try to make a long story as short as possible. First time I heard about day trading, let's see, I'm 45 now. So it was probably like early 2000s, I guess, when the .com bubble was going on. And I was working for my dad at the time. He had a trucking company. And I was 24. So 20 some years ago. And I remember late 90s, him buying into Qualcomm. And he had a broker that he would call and give money to. And
the good old days.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And I mean, my dad could barely turn on a computer near the end. But I mean, back then, the internet was an infant,
right?
Wasn't even a baby yet. So, and he had made some money off of that. And I'm like, man, that's really cool. But, back then I started working when I was like 13 years old, working for a guy doing construction, roofing and siding. I'd pedal into town on my bike and make like $4 an hour under the table cash, And so I've always been a hard worker. But then I quit that when I was right out of high school because I thought I wanted to go to school for engineering. For mechanical engineering. And I had a job at a company that made test equipment for aircraft in their drafting department. So I was a little more familiar with computers, but not an expert by any means. But I remember hearing engineers there and stuff talking about investing and trading, and was going to college and realized that I'm just not very good at math. And you gotta be pretty good at math for engineering.
I was gonna say that's a little something you maybe kind of decent at if you're gonna do some engineering.
Yeah, so I took a break from college, and I thought, I'm just gonna take a semester off. I had moved out of my mom and dad's, and was probably a little more focused on partying than going to school. I had a job where I was making a little money, and a buddy of mine back in Ohio. I grew up in Northeast Ohio. We had an apartment together, and there was, I'd say, a few years there that were, life was like an alcoholic haze. But I remember guys at the place I worked at talking about they're investing their money, and I started a 401k. And then I woke up one day and I was like, what am I doing? I don't want to be stuck in an office for the rest of my life. So I was telling my dad that, and he convinced me to go work for him. And that was, man, truck driving isn't an easy job. I will say that. It was a flatbed company, and you work hard. Anyway, I remember him doing some investing, and I was like, man, I don't have no money to invest. I'm barely paying bills. So he was like, oh, penny stocks. And I'm like, what in the world are penny stocks? Now, this is like right before my daughter was born in 2001, and I was 24. But I had no money to even think about starting to invest, and it's not like it is now. I mean, you know, there was no platforms
right,
like
exactly.
this.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's like the wild wild west. Well, I say wild wild west, but you know, it's like a ghost town. You know, you're looking at like it's like we're all riding horseback back then. We have saddles on where we don't ever groom ourselves. We got beards. We all stink. We're all drinking really hot whiskey.
You had to go to the library and go through the Dewey Decimal System.
Oh yeah, or that exactly. I remember you pull out the drawer. Okay, tick 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 tick. Okay, I'm looking for this book here.
Yeah. Anyway, so I ended up quitting working for my dad. He pulled me into the office for a little bit so I could learn more of the business end of it, which was hugely beneficial to me. I didn't realize till later when I started my own business. But I went to work for a construction company. I traveled all over the United States doing road work. And then I worked in Missouri and met my fiance. And by this time, my son was already born. This was 2008, 2006, I met her. And then 2008, I was telling her, look, I'd really love to start my own business doing this same kind of work. So I moved out here to Missouri, started that. She was behind me 1,000%, moved out here, promised my kids when I left that I would go back and see them like if I was a block down the street, which was every other weekend. So since 2008, I've been going back and forth from Missouri to Ohio pretty much every other weekend. It's harder now that they're older, but a lot of miles.
Yeah.
So she was behind me 100%. Completely changed our financial lives, was very successful, and had the winters off, but I didn't really know what to do. Yeah, I got you. Okay. Just don't run off and start playing NBA Jam or anything. Okay. I'll keep talking. Part of the reason I didn't want to do this interview is because you might have a hard time shutting me up. Anyway, so where was I? Moved out to Missouri, had this construction company, and we were pretty successful. We didn't know what to do with the money. We didn't work in the winters because you obviously can't do road work in the wintertime. So we would travel in the winter, or we'd just lay around and be lazy. And then we built a house. In 2012, we built our own log home. And when I say we built it, like I vividly remember this dream that I had building a log home turned more kind of into a nightmare. And my fiance and I literally stacking the logs for the garage by ourselves. But it turned out that was one of the best investments I could make at the time because I didn't know a lot about the market. I knew about day trading, but I never had the time to fully get into it.
And that's what I tell a lot of traders. You got to put the screen time in. But sorry, I didn't press the unmute button when I ran out. The internet connection we kept going low. Team, my direct access isn't unfortunately in my office, and Xfinity anyway, it's just in the other room. Try to reconnect.
I just kept talking.
No idea why. But yeah, back to your point, Tim. To traders I even have sessions with right now, I probably say that at least once, if not twice a week, until you get, and you can't help it a lot of early on, but until you can get that screen time in and you're in here day in, day out, you're going over tickets day in, day out, it's going to be a struggle early on. It's going to be a long.
That is one of the things that I was going to talk about, was because the screen time, I think, is one of the most important things. But I never had time for that. So we had that construction company, and we were just, I mean, we were busy, we were slamming. Then we started to slow down a little bit. 2018, I was playing music on the side just for fun locally, and that was like 2015. I started doing that, and that grew into. I'll get into that in a second. But 2017, 2016, my dad was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. 2017 is when he ended up passing away. But before he passed away, he had seen a video of me somehow playing a show up in Iowa. And he was like, hey, that looks like something you really like to do. And my dad was always business. And he was like, that's obviously something you like to do. I think maybe you should pursue that a little harder. And that was a couple months before he passed away. Well, in 2018, we had the opportunity to sell the company for various reasons. So we did that. And road work is a pretty dangerous job. We're very fortunate to never have any problems. So let's see. He passed away, and before he passed away, my plan was to go in the studio and cut a little EP with like 4 or 5 songs just to give to him as a Christmas present. And he passed away before we could get it done.
Oh,
yeah.
Man.
So after he passed away, I had written a song. Anyway, I don't really want to mix trading with music, but I was playing at a show up in Nebraska outside of Omaha. And a girl was there, and I played that song, and she started bawling, reminded her of something. Anyway, so I went ahead and recorded the album, and it had just a little bit of, it got a little momentum behind it. And next thing you know, I was going all over. So I've always been traveling, had some really, really cool things happen with music, had I've met some big names that I know everybody in here would know. I'm not going to name drop, but met some amazing songwriters and have become friends with a lot of musicians that are doing the same thing. It's kind of like the trading community. It's kind of a small group. And so here I was again. So now I'm 20 plus years into traveling for a living. And then COVID hit. So when COVID hit, I was literally ready to go to the Carolinas on a run down there. I had a bunch of shows lined up. And the night before I was leaving, South Carolina completely shut down. So it's like, well, 2 weeks to slow the curve.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, I watched the market. I heard the airline stocks had just tanked. And I'm like, they're not going to let the airline stocks go out of business. So what did I do? I got on my phone and opened up a Robinhood account, and I threw some money at all the airlines. I split it up: United Airlines, American, Spirit, all those. And I was like, they got to go up. So then the next thing I know that happened is I'm getting a bunch of ads from your buddy.
Sean Deckman.
No.
Oh, so TimZ33.
Yes. Now, not a fan of the guy, but I will give the guy credit on one thing. He's really good at marketing.
That's what I was calling me. I call him. Yeah, he's a marketeer. I mean, that's exactly what he is. He's really good.
So, like a lot of people in here, that's kind of how I got started. Let me pull something up real quick. We don't need to share screens, but so I'm like, well, day trading, that's something I've always wanted to look into. And that's when I got into it. And I had this account. I made some money on the airlines. I was happy. And then I'm like, well, let me just try a little bit of this day trading that I've wanted to do for a long time, but never could take the time to learn. So then, like most people, I just said, well, let me just throw money at it. Paper trade, what's that? So on Robinhood, John Barella's favorite app, I'm just going and losing and getting stuck and I mean rug pull, just the typical story, get in and then it
chasing the top, I'm sure too. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Everything that I don't do. But what happened was by me not paper trading is I learned a ton of horrible habits. And that it was bad. So I kind of not completely blew up that account, but almost did. And I didn't want to give up yet. Now I'm like a year in. So a year ago, actually this week, 2 years ago, I think is when I started. So a year ago, I'm like, man, something has got to change because I'm either gonna, and by then I still couldn't play music like I was to support, paying bills.
Right.
So, and half the places I played at were still shut down because of COVID. So take it more seriously. Okay, I'm gonna stop with real money. I'm gonna just paper trade for a few months. Never even heard of you or Sean Deckmar or anything at this point. This is a year ago.
Good for you that I'm glad you got into it. Honestly, without us having, because I know we preach it, so that's awesome that you found it before we even, you could put it into your head.
Yes. I was just losing. So I don't think my fiance was probably too happy with me at that point, So I told her, I said, look, I'm going to stop with real money until I figure this out. And then I'm like, man, I just keep losing. And all these plays, and I was doing the other typical thing of following people on Twitter and all these master Furus, Saved by the Bell characters. I'm going to try to keep this clean. Which now I have absolutely no respect for because I see what their game is.
Exactly. Yes.
So then I'm like, wait a minute, I'm losing. I'm scared to try to short because the losses are unlimited. And that was, again, in ignorance. You don't know what you don't know, right? So I decided to, on paper, take 2 months. This was after I paper traded. Take 2 months and just paper trade on the short side. I'm like, if I'm buying up here and I keep losing, let me just take that same entry on the short side.
Exactly.
Paper.
Yeah, that's what
And next thing you know, you could take a paper account from $25,000 up to $1 million in a matter of weeks. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. 100%.
You don't have the same emotions. So then it was June or July of last year, end of June last year, we went on a motorcycle trip out west with one of my buddies. He's tied in with the UFC. He's got a business that does nutrition and stuff. And they do charity work. And he's like, hey, let's take this trip out west. We want to use one of your songs on a B-roll promo video. So I'm like, sure. So we rode motorcycles. We went down to Springfield, Missouri and picked up Route 66. And we rode Route 66 pretty much the whole way.
Out west, yeah.
And then the girls flew into Albuquerque. We picked them up and we rode all the way to Vegas.
Oh, they didn't want to ride with you?
Not across Texas and all
yeah,
that.
Right.
So, no, it was all good. And him and I had some business stuff to talk about. So that was all good. They flew into Albuquerque, we rode Grand Canyon and stuff. We're out in Vegas. Now, the whole time, this is still before I heard about Tradecaster, I had my laptop with me. And he had work to do in the morning. And I'm like, well, I'm going to trade. And that was when I was like, wait a minute. The less I'm trading, I'm actually making more money.
Right, yeah.
So did that whole trip. He had to continue on to California and meet up with a fighter out at his camp in California. And I had to come back. Well, for some dumb reason, because I tend to do stupid things, I decided I'm going to shoot right back. I left out there on Tuesday morning. I left Vegas at like 3:30 in the morning and made it up into Durango, Colorado. I went down through Arizona, up through Flagstaff and took 2-lane roads
Right.
all the way to Durango, Colorado, which it was a great trip. I was just by myself on a motorcycle and hit a hellacious storm in Durango. That's a whole, I'm rambling.
Yeah.
Anyway, long story short, finally got home Thursday night. I was trying to make it home from Vegas in 2 days, but I got home Thursday and I was dog tired. Friday morning, this was middle of July last year. Friday morning, I thought, I'm going to get on a computer. And I made money while I was on vacation, which was amazing. And Friday morning, I learned a very valuable lesson. I was tired as could be. I literally just traveled 3,000 miles by myself on a motorcycle. And I was tired. And I went to trade, and I had a pretty bad loss. And it's because I was just not mentally there.
Right. Yep.
And I was almost ready to give up. I took the next week and a half and 2 weeks and tried to recover those losses, still making same dumb mistakes, hadn't shorted, and was on Twitter. And that's when I saw Deck. Somehow I saw him. And he's like, free YouTube day. So I went on his YouTube day, and he was talking about doing this boot camp. He's like, free 7-day pass. And that's when I signed up, was end of July last year. And I already had, like, it's weird because you know what you're supposed to do, but because you develop these bad habits, you're still doing the same stupid freaking mistakes.
Yeah.
It's so aggravating. And one of the first things I heard Sean say was, if you're doing that, just stop doing that.
Right. Yeah.
If you're making this mistake, if you're buying at the top and you're constantly losing, why not short it? And I'm like, well, that's what I've been doing on paper. So that's really when I first started short. Now, here I'm, 8 months later, I'm like 95% short bias,
Right.
which I know isn't the best way to be. I need to have no bias, but it's working. I mean, I literally went from losing all the time to, let me see, I'll put it in. Let me see here real quick. Hold on. Pictures. How do I add? I'll put it in the chat. This is the last 30 days. I'm at 86%.
Right. There you go. Yeah.
That's. I mean, it's just finding that groove.
Right. Yeah.
So
main thing, that's why I always went back to paper trading and tracking your trades early on. And I don't know if you ever tracked them that much, but you have to figure out what you're good and what not good at. And that's why I always tracked them, because I figured out myself the hard way. Hey, here's what I need to stop doing because I am not doing this. Every time I do it, it's wrong. Yeah. It sucks. So let's either do the opposite of that or just throw it to the trash and not do it at all. And that's when I was like, again, started nitpicking at what I was good at and what I wasn't at, and started throwing all the stuff to the side that I wasn't good at. Finally figuring out, oh, here it is. This is what I'm good at. There it is,
Right. And before I found Deck, like that boot camp that he did, I've said it before to him in chat, like literally changed my life, because I had not, go back to when I started my own business, I had not had a boss since 2008.
Right. Yeah.
And the freedom, I mean, it's not about the money. It's literally about the freedom to me. Like, I see people, and I'll post in Profits Chat or whatever if I have a good day. The consistency is what I'm looking for. I've been focused on that a lot since the beginning of the year, and patience. But it's the consistency that I'm after. I mean, there's always somebody making more money than you. You cannot get caught up in what other people are doing. I have a thing on the wall here that says, what other people think of your trading is none of your business.
Well, luckily, I've always been like that in my life. My wife, unfortunately, kind of worries about this. And no offense, Miss Boss, or any other women in chat, women do care about what other people think a little bit more than men do. I've luckily always been that way, where even like in high school, whatever it was, I don't care. I worry about me and my family and intermediate. You want to say what you want to say about me? Cool. I don't really care. Like, I'm not going to let, I think a lot of it comes back to my dad was a morning show host. So he had, even back to when I remember walking in, him and my mom were in a fight. They were looking at these letters. My dad used to get death threats. I mean, he's a local disc jockey, essentially radio, but people were like, I can't. I'm like, just turn the channel. What, you know what I mean? So I've always had to deal with people are going to hate. Loving Martin Luther King Jr. as I grew up and just seeing how I'm like, I'm going to let all that nonsense and tone it out. Worry about me. Worry about right here. This lane right here is the main lane I need to worry about. And you take care of your lane. It's just like you said. Success is gonna pile up, and it's gonna pile up. It's gonna pile up even more. Right. You can't let all the I made $27,000 a day or whatever. All that stuff clutter. Let that clutter go.
When you're new, and you see people on Twitter, traders on Twitter, flashing Rolexes and private jets in the background, Lambos, and it's like, wow, and they're putting, you could do this too. You get caught up in it. It's very, very easy to do, but. You're the only one that is in charge of your account. Yep. So why should I care? Why should I worry about showing off profits or, for that matter, showing off losses? I'm not a teacher, I'm definitely not a financial advisor. So I don't know. I have goals. My goal for trading is, first and foremost, I want to get my fiance out of her job. Wasn't willing to do that until I could be consistent. And over the last 3 months is when I've really reached that consistency that I'm looking for. But what makes that consistency is not having a daily goal. Not even.
Yes, I preach that all the time. And I'm like, yes, don't have, yes, go keep going though. But yes.
I mean, I'm very, very fortunate because we did some financial moves when we sold the business and everything. We don't have a lot of bills.
Right.
If I make $200 a day, that's $50,000 a year. I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm good. Anything else is just a bonus.
Right.
I would rather get her out of her job so we can go back to traveling. I don't want to be, Northeast Ohio, one of the reasons I moved away was to start that business, but I hated snow. I hated it. We were up in the snow belt up there. It was nothing when I was a kid to get 3 feet of snow on a long weekend, And I move out here to Missouri and it's cold in the wintertime.
Yeah.
I want to be in Florida in the winter or somewhere warm, Bahamas or something.
Oh, there we go. Now we're talking.
We can't do that.
Yeah.
We can't do that with her at her job.
Right.
So that is my main goal. And she has always, always, always supported me with every crazy idea I've had.
Yeah.
I mean, how many people just go, I think I'm going to go play music for a living. You know what I mean?
Or the one time you were a Chip and Dale dancer once, right, too?
Yeah. We owned it. No. When we had the roadwork business, we also had a CrossFit gym that we had for a couple years.
Right.
And I've never, ever been afraid to try new things. You only go around once. So
right.
Well
100%.
take a stab.
A couple things I do want to hone on. What were those little bad habits that you knew you had to fix early on that I know other traders are probably going to hear, but what were those bad habits? Oh man, that's happened to me. What were those a couple of those bad habits that you're like, traders, stay away from these? This
just
is what I was doing early on.
Following other people. Following other people was one of my biggest ones. When I started taking it more seriously, I read a lot of books. I have a list of them somewhere here. Hold on. Like one of the good books that I don't think a lot of people know about is A Complete Guide to Volume Price Analysis. That just puts into perspective more about how much volume affects that.
Right.
And
yeah, if you want to post those in chat, if you want to, like I say, if you want to do any copy and pasting or whatever, if you want to do any of that for read this book,
I can do that.
Yeah, you can definitely do that for traders in chat. Say, hey, because I know a lot of traders. There are still readers out there, and we get those questions once. Well, hey, is there a book you read? I'm like, I'm just unfortunately not a reader. I'm like, you can see, I'm always moving. I can't hardly stay still. So I was like, I can't read stuff unless it's short. But some that can and want it, please list it because there are some that still want it, and I get that question a lot. I'm like, I just don't read. I'm sorry.
Screenshot it. Yeah, but one that actually 419 Tech I'd heard about the book, but I hadn't read it yet. It was Technical Analysis of the Financial Markets, and that has really, really helped. I got it right up on the shelf up here.
Yeah, you must just show it off. Show that bad boy off.
looks like this, trying to not get a glare.
Perfect notes. Yeah, there you go. Right there's perfect. Yeah, there you go.
That book, and it's thick too, but that is one to actually get. Since I drive so much, I do a lot of audiobooks,
Right.
but that one there, I listen to it, and then I'm like, I need to get the actual
Yeah, so
book.
you got Sean Wags, so you got people in chat, so definitely do some cut and paste and let people know what those books are.
Yeah,
They definitely got some
absolutely. Trading in the Zone is more about the mental aspect of it, which really helped. I think I've listened to that book like 3 times driving. It's a 10-hour ride one way.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's awesome to have those audiobooks.
Yeah. One Good Trade is another one. Market Wizards, Intelligent Investor. One that isn't necessarily about trading that has helped me is The Richest Man in Babylon. It's an old book. Atomic Habits is another good one that has helped me. Recently, I just listened to the Subtle Art of Not Giving Up F, which is good. And then like Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins.
Right. Yeah. Of course, anything getting into that. Yeah. Just because mental. All we do is just mental.
Because that's what I was getting ready to talk about. This whole but this whole trading is 95% mental. I was just telling my fiance last night, it is the hardest, easiest thing I've ever done.
Right. Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Like once you get dialed in, it's kind of easy.
Yeah.
You know what to look for, but that all comes back to screen time.
Right.
And that theory, or whatever you want to say, that Outliers book of the 10,000 hour rule, where you just, and I don't sleep very well. Like Sunday night, I went to bed at 10 o'clock. I woke up at 12:30, wide awake. It's an insomnia thing. So what else are you going to do? You might as well educate yourself. Education's free, like Deck always says, and you never stop learning. So, yeah, and I was up till 10 o'clock last night. So, but that's me. I get 3 or 4 hours of sleep.
Right.
Seems like. Friday nights are different because we go out sometimes. But yeah, so the other thing was things that helped me. If you have not, especially in the penny stock world, if you have not seen the documentary China Hustle, please go watch it. That explains what all these crap companies that we trade are really like. I've watched that a couple times. And then the one I just watched on Sunday morning, I just watched the new one on HBO, Gaming Wall Street. And it's
I've heard about that, but I haven't seen it.
I think it just came out. I'm not sure when it came out, but that was interesting. I didn't participate in any of that craziness because I like shorting pump and dumps when I know that's what they are. Low floaters with news, I try to be patient. Patience is something I'm always working on. I'm always going to have to work on because I'm not a patient person. You can ask my fiance. She'll tell you. Like we go on vacation, we're getting ready to go on a cruise, and I need stuff to do. You know, like that goes back to earlier when I was working at that place with all them engineers and looking around. It was like the movie Office Space. You see all them guys in there, and I'm like, is this what my life is going to be? I can't do this. So one of my goals for this year is to spend actually less time in front of the computer. And working on that, I found them actually more profitable, which is crazy. You're waiting. I'm over PDT. No need to get into account size or anything like that. But I'm over PDT, but I still try to trade like I'm under PDT.
Gotcha.
If that makes sense.
Oh, yeah. I do a lot of the same effect. I mean, a lot of the days, too. I mean, definitely.
Right. Well, you're one of the most patient and disciplined people I've seen.
I don't know. I get this, and I'm like, my wife makes me seem the complete opposite. But I'm like, she gives me
when it comes to trading.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, you know, I think, I mean, I struggled so bad when I started. You know, they say that, what is it, 80%, 85% of traders fail. And I think that my personal opinion is because they run out of money.
That's what I tell most traders. Like, that's why they either give up. They either give up or they blow their account up and they're done. They can't do it anymore.
Yes. Yeah. So, I mean, those were kind of kind of my struggles in just the following other people. That was one of the big ones. And I have a friend that lives down in Columbia. I'm like 40 minutes outside of Columbia, in a small town. And he's pretty successful, and he was into commercial real estate. Like, I think in like 5 years, he had sold like $30 million worth of commercial real estate. So he had some money to live off of and to learn how. Now he's a swing trader, which I'm not any good at that either. So he told me when I was first starting, he was like, you have got to block the noise. And I didn't really know what he meant, but now I do, because I made all those mistakes, and I'm a little hard headed. So I have to learn those mistakes on my own, unfortunately. But I mean, the other thing that has really, really helped me is I don't focus on the money. Focusing on the money gets you more emotional, in my opinion.
That's why I, again, took away the daily, or not never worried about the daily goals. I took away the P&L off my screen. Like I'll pull it up right now. I don't have my P&L on there. Just, that just helps you stick in your target and become a more disciplined trader.
Yeah, it makes you focus more on the trade itself.
Right, 100%.
And I think you learn better that way too.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and it's not like the money's great. When you're profitable, the money's great. I just want to be able to pay bills and go to whatever restaurant I want to eat at and not worry about how much it's going to cost.
Right. Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
And that goes back to, seeing people that are flashing Rolexes all the time and Bentleys and stuff.
That's the same with you. Yeah. That's not going to be me. I'm right there with you.
Great for them.
Yeah.
Great for them. That's not my account, so why should I care?
Or that's not your style. That's not you. That's why become your own trader. Be you. I mean, going back to just the simple stuff in life, like you want to be your own person in life, be your own trader in life. That's when you're going to be most successful in anything you do.
Exactly.
Now, before I forget, I know Overtrader asked, how did you dial in on the consistency? Was it just by practicing the same trades over and over?
That's exactly what it was. And I mean, going through Dex videos, one of the videos that has helped me the most is your trendline crack video.
Yeah, trendline crack.
I mean, I will share that video to anybody and everybody about when it comes to shorting, because that thing helped me out. In Dex video library, when I get my fiance out of her job, she'll be sitting right here. And she's already watched some videos and learning and everything. And she definitely has an interest, because she comes home from lunch at 1 o'clock our time. So 2 o'clock Eastern. So she comes home, and that's right when deck is starting up by the time she gets home, for the afternoon. And she was here that day that Deck was talking about, what's the word I'm looking for? The personalities of stocks.
Right.
And I forget how Deck said it, something about, if your dad had red hair and your mom had red hair.
Oh yeah. He says that.
And he started talking about it, the upper wicks and stuff. And that was the only day I'd see Deck lose it to where he had to walk away. That was freaking funny. But she was here that day, and she was just laughing. But she's going to do way better at this than me. She's got an accounting background, and she's very detail oriented, and she's way more patient than me.
Yeah.
So I know that she will be successful at it, and we'll just take our time with it. But I got to be at the point where I know that I'm doing enough every day to pay all of our bills, because we've been together 15 years now. She's still my fiance. You can talk to her about that. So she's way more patient than me. Obviously, she'd have to be to put up with me. So
I'm just checking for other questions. But back to your trend line cracks.
What type of alerts do I look for?
Exactly. If you want to answer any of the questions, I know Jat C was one of the last questions, but any of the ones you want to answer, go right on ahead.
I only look for Alex Vaughn alerts. That's all I look for, is Alex's alerts. Just kidding, Alex. No, it's funny, Alex. I mean, that's why I wasn't like, what do y'all want me to talk about? Because Alex and J Trades and Matt, they all like everything that they're looking for is the same stuff I'm looking for. I mean, Alex is like a doppelganger trader for me, you know? I mean, we're always looking for the same thing and listening. When I do get in on a trade, I try to get focused on that. I always have Dak and you up on a big screen down here. I project you all from YouTube up to there. And I got to mute you if I'm in a trade, you know, and I always have it off in the chat and stuff when that's going on. Alex is funny.
I know. So what Overtrader did ask, is that pretty much your focus on? I know you probably focus more on trend line cracks. So what do you focus on essentially? So obviously how long to hold the trade as an entire different animal. Overtrader was asking, I guess, back to those trend line cracks. What else do you kind of look for besides the trend line cracks?
You know, shorting. On Sundays, I go through like what the top gainers were the week before, because sometimes when I'm looking for a short on a play, sometimes they'll have that 3-day run up, you know, but everybody's forgot about them. You know, 3 days has gone by. Well, sometimes them are the best shorts of the day.
Right.
So Sunday mornings, Sunday afternoons, whenever I go through, I have watch lists. I had Weevil. I'm in Lightspeed now. I'm trying to transition over to using Thinkorswim for charting purposes. Uh-oh, I lost you here. Hold on. I'm still learning Thinkorswim, so I rely on Weevil a lot, and I need to get better with Thinkorswim, obviously. But one of the things I like about Weevil is let me move you here so I can see this.
If you want to share your screen, you can too. I don't know if you want to share your screen. I didn't think you had anything to show. I don't think you have anything to show.
Not really. But one of the things Webull has on the left-hand side, you can click this little globe-looking thing that says markets. And in the middle of that page, they have stocks that have hit or either hit or they're near 52-week highs.
Gotcha.
Or you can do it to the lows or whatever. So I always look at that. I manually write down for the on a piece of paper what the kind of grab you here. What the previous day's gainers were. I keep that in the notebook. So I might go back a couple days and look and see where those stocks are at. You know, like AVGR, if you look at the daily chart, not AVGR, sorry. Oh, I just pulled up the wrong thing. Dang it. You know, like TRQ. TRQ is an example. Now I lost you. Let me find you here. I'm horrible with computers, by the way. But like TRQ, if you look at that daily chart, it's like 83 on the RSI. That's another thing I look at all the time. You know, in different time frames. I know you're not really supposed to, but on the daily for sure. But I mean, even in different time frames, I use different time frames all the time, especially for that 8 and 20 move that Matt preaches and Alex.
Right.
I'm always going back and forth in between different times. But you know, I don't know if you have TRQ pulled up.
I do.
But it's like a doji on the daily now. So tomorrow comes. This is a play that everybody's forgotten about. Ran a few days ago, gapped up and ran, and that might be a good short. Am I going to jump right into it? No. I'm not going to jump right into it. But that's where the patience comes back into play, you know. And patience is something that I've always struggled with my whole life. I had some anger issues when I was a young teenager, you know.
I'm right there with you. Don't worry. There's still a hole in my wall at my parents' house that's covered up by. Maybe Mom fixed that finally, but wait, I covered up with a picture forever ago, and they finally found out. It was in the garage too. She was like, came home like, oh, it was an old school picture of Grandpa.
Yeah.
Anyway, I was like, I thought it'd be cooler. Y'all didn't have it in the house, and then finally one day she's like, I figured out why you put that picture there, young man.
Yeah. So, yeah, well, boy, that's me. That was me last year when I kept losing.
Right. That's all of us. We want to pick up the monitor or whatever we have, laptop, and just.
Gosh. But then because your emotions are so into it, you're like, well, I can get it back. And then you revenge trade. That was something I really struggled with.
Right.
Revenge trading. Oh my God.
And then you overtraded. I guarantee that's when you built up all those trades and overtraded.
Absolutely. And then you're just digging yourself with a hole, and you can't use a freaking shovel to dig yourself out of a hole. You know, and that's what I was doing. But, you know, I mean, just the focusing on yourself. One thing that Arslan had put in the room one day, and I don't know how many people caught it, is that Kinfo that tracks your trades.
Right, yes, Kinfo, yep.
That has helped me out a lot because you can't cheat on that. You know, if you're writing them on paper.
Right, exactly, yeah.
You could say, oh, that trade didn't go good. I'm not putting it in my journal.
Go back when I used to golf. Like, yeah, I got a par there. I got a par.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I'm not a golfer. I don't need another addiction. That's my thing. I get freaking addicted when it comes to stuff like this. I mean, for the last 2 years, it's every day, 12 to 16 hours a day. I get obsessed, you know, like Dex said when he was young, but it was like that with anything. I'd go all out with a construction company, with playing music. I mean, just being disciplined and having that drive and not quitting.
Right.
I have a sign on the wall that says hold on a second. It's only when you stop trying that you truly fail.
Right. There you go. Right.
You know, so just not giving up. I'm
100%.
not quitting now.
Yep. I look at this every day. I'll see if I can stretch this out. I don't know if I can. Well, y'all be able to see partial of it. Right up there in the corner, you can kind of see the best basketball player. And yes, the GOAT. Anyway, it's Michael Jordan. It's the wings where he has his arms stretched out all the way. Anyway, not what I just look up at, of course, him and go, yes. Well, you know, just because that killer instinct that he had. But there's a quote on it. It says, "No bird soars too high if he soars with his own wings." And it comes back to me being my own trader. And I was like, I know it always comes back to me and not having to look elsewhere. I'm like, hey, if I can look up at him and he did what he did on his own, I know I can look at my own self essentially in the mirror and use my own wings to become my own successful trader.
Yeah, yeah. And you know what? That documentary, what was it called? What the hell?
The one that was in 2020?
Yeah.
I forgot
that
what
documentary.
I really don't. I forgot what that was called.
The Last Dance.
That
documentary,
The Last Dance.
just getting like into his mental, that's crazy. Him and Kobe both, you know.
And then the one that had it for a little bit of time in golf was Tiger. I mean, Tiger, if you can get that zoned in on something, and you just can count. I mean, Jack Nicklaus. I mean, there are of course all the greats. I mean, but if you can get that honed in on something and have it's wow. It's wow.
Yeah, but take that same mentality and apply it to whatever you're doing.
Yep.
Yes. So
as best as you can, because we're not. You know, it's hard to be or you know what I mean. But if you can, as best you can though, have that same mentality, like you said, you get into something, be addicted to it. Like if you want to be the best stock or a stock trader, want to be the best stock. No, are you going to be but be the best stock trader you can become. And I'm telling you, you're going to be way more successful than, again, like you're saying, following other traders, just trading left, right, almost like you're trading blindly. You find your own wings essentially and start soaring. It's again, that's why I say not the moon, not we're heading to the moon, but the sky's the limit. We can get into the sky and we can soar around and we can be super successful.
Yes. So I need to work. What I need to work on is becoming. Instead of 90% short, I really need to get back on working on becoming long bias. It seems like we're having a little bit of a shift now where shorts aren't working quite as much, but I still have that underlying fear of rug pulls and knives.
Right.
You know,
those are definitely always going to happen. We know that.
Yes, even when there is good news, it just. I mean, what was that one that ran this morning? I made a little money off of DPRO.
D-Pro,
I mean,
right? Yeah, DPRO.
I don't know. I feel like when you short something, like you can see where it's going to go down.
Right. That's why I was all over DPRO this morning and shorting it 100%.
Right, and And when you're going long, man, I'm just scared of them rug pulls, them knives.
Yeah.
Because you don't know when they're coming. And that's where stop losses come in. Trailing stop losses. If I am long on something, and most of the time when I'm short on something, I have a trailing stop loss, that 2% trailing stop loss or whatever, those have saved me a number of times. Now it's more on light speed. Now it's more just a mental one, but it took me a long time to just get to where I'm firm with my mental stop losses.
Right, and that takes a while. It comes about the discipline word. With patience, you're still working on, but if you have your form, it's what I was telling you back in the day when we had trading cards or whatever, and or if you go back to football video games and you have ratings essentially, in 10's the high as it gets, 1's as low as it gets. You're trying to build up the discipline rating. You're trying to build up your patience rating. We're always trying to build those up, and that's why I'm like, the closer you can get to 10 and all those, it may not be like 10, you like back in the day, your power may be 10, your strengths, whatever it may be, but as long as you get close to all those of 10, your patience, your discipline, all those key words we always talk about, the better trader you'll become. So you can tell you've got the discipline, and you're just like a lot of us working on me. I'm always working on patience. I'm super patient. I'm always still working on those elongated moves. So like you said, working to always become a better trader, essentially.
Yeah. And I need to just reverse my thinking and go more on the long side. I don't know.
Honestly, like you said, and I'll say this myself, because of when I get in sessions or even going live at lunch, you get into a 85 to 90% win rate. You find something that's super successful. Longs have not really been there overall. So your brain, we are human. You're going to think to do one thing and one thing only, right? And so there's no point to really, like we always say, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Well, I'm sure that's, I'll say in the South, but I'm sure that's anywhere.
That's the other thing. It's hard for me to get back into that long mentality because, this month I was 86%. I think since the beginning of the year, I'm like 83%.
Right.
But pretty much I've been successful. I did all this, a year and a half of losing going long. I switch over to being more short bias since September, and I've made back all my losses from that first year and a half and more. So if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But with the way the market shifts and changes,
you're going to have to definitely. Yeah, there'll be a time when it's the opposite of it was in January, where like everything was short, doing options, but a lot of that was going short. It'll be the opposite, where it's hardly time to go short and it's time to go long, essentially, and there's not many shorts to be had.
Yeah, absolutely. So just having no bias is better for sure.
Right. Now, one thing I do want to, so if you get, which I would say traders, I know we've been going for about an hour here. Traders, you have any questions for Tim? Start shooting them in real quickly. But Tim, if you which I would ask the last three guys this real quickly, why maybe some questions gather up. If you could get yourself when you first started a year or two ago, just give a brief rundown. And for all these newer traders that may need that brief kind of shaking and rundown, you're getting a hold of them. Say, hey, what would you have told yourself, 2 years ago, Tim, a year ago, Tim, what to stop doing, what to start doing? What are those main 3, 4, 5 things that you would say, hey, here's what we need to do to be successful early on?
If I'm losing, even now, and if I even just you can give yourself paper cuts until your account is gone.
Right.
Faster than you realize it's even happening. Stop with real money. Paper trade. I was paper trading yesterday on, what was that one that started with an N yesterday? What was that?
NRSN or NS? Yeah, NRSN.
Yes. I paper traded that. I didn't touch it. Didn't touch it because I'm like, this is a crazy play. I don't know where it's going. But let me just try. If I was going to do this and just paper trade.
That's exactly what I did when I first started shorting, because I never shorted. Trend line cracks, my shelf, all that cracks I talk about. I went to practicing first. I didn't go in with real money.
Yes. But spending the screen time, there's nothing that is going to compare to the actual screen time, in my opinion. For me, and everything I'm saying here is just for me personally.
Right.
This is the way that I have found my style. Right. And you hear all the cliches. Oh, you got to find your style. You got to find what works for you. But the only way you learn that is screen time. But don't sacrifice thousands and thousands of dollars for that screen time. People talk about market tuition. Oh, that's the price you got to pay. Yeah, there's different emotions, but get your fundamentals down.
100%.
The best players in sports, NBA, NFL, Tom Brady, he's still not, who's coming back, right?
Yeah, right.
He's not coming back at the age of 40. How old is he? 43
plus,
or whatever
it is, yeah.
Without constantly working on those fundamentals.
Right.
You know, that's what one of the things Kobe always was so good at. My same friend that works with MMA people, he had worked with Kobe's camp a little bit, and they were waiting when Kobe was doing that documentary. Like, my buddy had gotten there, and Kobe was the only one in the building.
Yeah,
He
was well known to be the first one there.
All work.
Yeah.
If you want to be good at something, in my opinion, you have to be obsessed with it when you're learning. And then along the way, pound those fundamentals. But don't sacrifice money that you've worked for. Do it on paper.
Right, 100%.
Yeah, you're not going to get the same emotions. And if you are in a play with real money and you are nervous or you're scared, you got too much size on that play. Don't make sure your risk and reward is right. You know, that's the other thing I look for on Sunday mornings when I'm looking at plays. I'm not going to go in on a play that looks like on the short side, looks like it's getting ready to crack a trend line or something for a 10-cent move when there's one that's similar to it that I can get $1.
Right, exactly.
You know, so it's just like I said earlier. It's the hardest, easy job to do. Because once you have it, and that's the thing, guys that are in here that are in their 20s, that are struggling or whatever with the impatience, you know, Beck always says, like, doctors go to school for how long or whatever. You know, take a year and a half and learn, because once you have it down, you are good for the rest of your life.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Like, that's the thing with playing music. When COVID shut us down and I couldn't travel, I played shows in front of 1,000 people before, and all of a sudden, all that's gone. It's just gone. I didn't do anything wrong.
Right.
You know, I realized then I had to have something that could not be taken away from me. A lot of people don't ever have the time to learn until they're retired.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to do that. You're going to see a lot less of me once I get her out of her job, because we want to travel. And I've already proved to myself that I can travel and trade. You can make money at this on a laptop in a hotel in a half an hour,
right?
Make a few $100,
yeah, and
go about your day,
right? Yeah,
and go travel, go see stuff. You know, in the end, I don't think it's going to matter what you have when you look back when you're on your deathbed, whatever. You look back on your life, it's not going to be, well, I got $3 million in the bank. It's going to be, man, I got to do so much cool stuff.
Right, yeah.
I got to take my kids out to Hawaii. I got to instill some stuff in them. That's the stuff that I think is going to be important.
A couple of quick questions I did have before they keep scrolling up more. What do you use for paper trading?
My Webull account, my paper trading.
Gotcha. And then it says, Sean Worrell asked, how do you risk? I don't know if, essentially, I guess, what do you do for your risk management? What's kind of your risk management strategy for your stop loss, I'm guessing?
Kind of like what J Trades just said in there. I mean, pretty much the same thing that everybody preaches, you know. I mean, if I could see something's going to break a level that is down $1 from where I'm at, but you know it's up near the high of the day,
right?
I'm going to take a stab at it. Like Alex said about scaling into the trades, I think that has saved me, and trading around that core position sometimes. That's what I did yesterday on a play. I had where I'd gotten in, it bumped up, so I added to that short. And when I'm talking about scaling, I might start with 250 shares to go for 1,000 share position,
right?
You know, or if I'm confident on that it's going to start dropping, then I'll scale in and then just add on that, like you preach.
Right.
I mean,
Yep.
everything that I do can be found either in Deck's video library or your YouTube page.
Yeah.
So,
all right, any last questions, team? Seriously, though, thank you so much, Tim, for coming over here. If there's anything else that you want to let the traders know, over the last couple of minutes here, but seriously, thank you so much for giving us an hour of your day. And see, this wasn't so bad after all in the end.
No, I got to leave here in a little bit and go to the bank and get this. My account got hacked. Thanks, John. Yeah, it was like $4,500. It was the same bank, but it was 3 accounts.
Two things. Do you trade pre-market? That's a quick one. Do you trade pre-market?
I do, but it has to be a really good setup. I've been burned in pre-market before. I used to have a little whiteboard that I wrote on and kept by my desk, and I literally for a month had on there, do not trade pre-market.
Yeah.
Because I think it's a lot more manipulated sometimes depending on the play.
Right, yeah.
Small position size.
And they said setup. So I know just quickly, which I know it's pretty much what we trade. And you just say trendline cracks, 820 cross. What main setups you're looking for day in, day out? Just name them right off the bat. What do you trade daily? What are the setups?
Trendline cracks, but it's got to be plays with volume too.
Right. There's stuff that goes with those. That's why I don't know a lot of traders. There's other little stipulations that go with those.
Yeah. I mean, all the plays have to have volume, otherwise you're just wasting your day.
Right.
And there's plays going by that you're missing.
100%.
And there's always other plays. It might not be the one that everybody's talking about, but on the short side especially, everybody runs to that shiny object.
Right.
You know? Look what happened with D-Pro today. As soon as the other one took off, D-Pro's volume just went down.
Yeah.
Well, I'm kind of looking for that. I'm looking for that volume to go down a little bit.
Yeah, that's what I was in the second session. Noticed that with D-Pro, that's what I was going over, and that's what I wanted because all the mob went over to LLL to help my short out even more so. And so now I'm like, yes, sweet. Here comes volume. There was a volume burst of selling and shorting, but then after that, I know it's dying off. That means it's just going to bleed. So I don't have to watch it. I know there's not going to be much volume. That means it's not going to move much, and I can watch LLL or something else while kind of still being in my play and watching it here and there.
Right, and then just looking for when that play shows some weakness. I love those, like Alex said, and I won't alert something. Some of the stuff I try, I don't even think about alerting. You know what I mean? Those lunchtime pump and dumps, like Alex said, CRXT launch. He just said,
Right.
I mean, I'm not gonna. I take some risks sometimes, but those you have to do small sizes. Like when you're going from paper trading to using real money, go small sizes. That was my biggest problem too, because you're always trying to make back money that you lost in one trade.
Right. Yeah.
That's the way I was.
Yeah.
And then it just compounds.
Yeah. Oh, it does. Yeah. Just like wins can help compound, those small paper cuts and losses can compound the other way.
Absolutely.
And so for you though, Big Brady, while we're actually talking about that transition, mental health transition from, and that I know that's already going to be the main thing you're about to bring back up, but the transition from paper to real. Advice for that, and especially for the middle side, and that's the first thing I'd say. Go smaller share sizes, but go ahead. What else would you say besides going smaller share sizes?
I mean, that's what helped me was just sizing down. And I know that sounds crazy, but that goes back to the not focusing on the money.
Focusing on your trade.
Yeah, yes, absolutely. And like you said, I mean, I thought there for a while I was the only one that took my P&L off of the page to focus more on what the trade itself is doing. And when you get in a trade, especially when you're new, don't have the trade going and then constantly look at chat for what other people are doing.
Right.
Don't start with the real money until you're ready to just focus on the trade and not what other people are doing.
Right. And understand that it's going to take months, maybe years on until you can go, I could be in 2 trades. It took me, team, I'm telling you, it was probably 3 years of me. I was like, I'm in 2 trades at once. Are you kidding me? It's going to take a while. So don't worry about being in 2 trades at once.
Absolutely.
Worry about one trade at a time.
It's
sure.
also like that John Wick thing that I put in there that said, know when to be patient and when to be aggressive.
Right.
You have to get to the point. I mean, one of my big wins the other day, like it was just like click, click.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
I feel like I finally got to the point where win or lose, I'm not feeling anything emotionally because the trade did what I expected.
Right, and that's what I tell most traders too. I don't say enough in chat, but I say it on my sessions a lot. When you can get to this job as like your normal, like when you went and had a show, were you like, oh, what string do I? No, you knew exactly what you're doing. The whole show went off. You were home the next day, or that. It was like it never even happened because you're that good at it, right?
I tried.
Okay, well, I get my point though. Your normal your normal job though, you're not thinking. You're just click, like you said. You're click, click, click. Like it's especially the boring jobs that I know a lot of people want to get away from because that's all it is. You go to your cubicle, you're doing this all day. You know exactly what you're doing. It's so boring because you know what to do. When you get to trading, it's almost, I say it's boring, but it gets that easy. We're just like click, click, click. That's when you know it's clicking and you are a successful trader because you don't. There's not that much emotion in it. You know exactly what you're doing and when to do it. And real quickly before I forget, you brought it up. You're a newer trader. You've been trading for like 2 years. I've been trading for 5 years, right? Traders before me that are this, so now they've been trading for 7 to 10. Point being, back to the going smaller share size and getting rid of your P&L. You brought it up. I brought it up. They're the ones that taught me to bring it up. So you get my point. They're essentially generations, which I feel like generations here of traders that have all taught this and found it successful. So if we're finding it successful, do the same thing. Go smaller share size to start off with mentally.
Absolutely.
And get rid of that P&L because it's going to help you focus in and hone in on the trade and stick to your plan you created, which you have to start doing. And the earlier you start doing that, the better trader you'll definitely be.
Try to learn from everybody else's mistakes.
100%. I think that's it for the most part, man. You did amazing. Like seriously, thank you so much, man, for coming on here and doing this.
Not a problem.
And when you get done, before you do leave, definitely do some copying and pasting of those books. Whether if you want to just make it simple, but do a little copying and pasting so that way I know before we forget because I know they're asking about those earlier. But yes, thank you, Tim. I know J-Trade super buddy Sean. Everyone in here in chat super beneficial. So thank you, for coming over, Tim, and giving your time 100%.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
And Sean says that the China documentary, because I've seen that before in the past. I always forget the name of it though.
Yeah, the China Hustle.
The China Hustle. I almost said hustle. I thought it was called the China Hustle. Yeah, the China Hustle.
Yeah, let me see if this is what I just did here. Wait a minute, that ain't it. Okay. Here, I'll put this in chat.
Thank you.
Those are just some of the books.
Team. Save that picture, copy and paste it, whatever you want to do. Actually, I do the whole thing which we taught about traders. You can right click and open a new tab, but whatever you want to do there, copy and paste that screenshot, it open a new tab, save that picture. But you can look at the love. Look at the love for you, baby. I told you, baby boy, they love you in chat. That's the reason why I made you a gold member, because you're very successful and you're really good at a very fast rate.
It was more. What else am I going to talk about that hasn't already been said? So
the struggle, hey, like it's the saying's called, the struggle is real. The struggle is the main thing. Going over what you went through, how you got over it, where you've gotten to, that we all faced that early on, and that you did it, I did it. All these traders, we can do it, you can do it too. Like you said, it's the easiest, hardest thing. It's always said, I always say, it's easier said than done. It is easier said than done at first, but once you, like I said, you get to know what you're doing, like you just said, it's matters of click, and it's very simple.
Yeah, and it's and like the cliche, it's a marathon, not a sprint. Excuse me.
Right.
And just go slow. Go slow. The market will be open tomorrow. There will always be another trade.
Yep.
If you miss one, forget about it. Who cares?
Yep, 100%.
And just try to be aggressive when you should be, and be patient all the time. And I never understood that patience thing at the beginning, because it was always like, well, I was patient, but I missed it.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? I was too patient. So there's a balance there. There's a fine line, thin veil, whatever you want to say.
Right.
So,
well, again, man. Well, and again, if there's anything else different, you can maybe add when we do interview round week 2. Regardless, thank you for round 1, which is this part is mainly kind of like we talk about. It's really the start of it, and kind of going over setups, but mainly just letting people what I talk about, relation confirmation. You just getting on here so traders can relate to you and confirm that, hey, oh yeah, I'm going through the same thing. Okay, cool. I know I can do this. That's just a huge thing.
I got you.
I appreciate it.
If things go according to plan, it might be hard to catch me though, because I have this trip that I want to do. I want to go. It's probably next spring, but I want to go from mid-Missouri into the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, down, see family in Ohio, go all the way up to Maine, and then down the East Coast.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
I have family all over, you know. Stop and see Active Trader down in Florida. But I mean, that's the goal, is to travel. So.
Well, again, bub, seriously, can't thank you enough for coming on today. Of course, we'll see you in chat. Thank you for all your seriously, your beneficial, useful information today has been awesome. Of course, and for those readers out there that need books, stuff like that. So thank you so much again for coming on.
Absolutely.
I'll see you tomorrow whenever in chat. I'll hit you up. Go Hogs, but go SEC and go Tigers too. How to get that in? I saw you wearing red today, so. But,
they got a new.
That's where I propose
Grand Canyon Brewing and Distillery. Yeah, Grand Canyon Brewing and Distillery.
All right, so now I have to do it for all the ladies in chat. So what's the big date? When's the date? You know, we got.
You got to ask her. I've been saying I gave her ring on a stage at the Ryman Auditorium in Nashville in 2015, 14 or 15. So we were both married before. So
gotcha. And that's why, again, back to stock trading. Be the tortoise in the race. That's because me and my wife, we've been together 14 years now, but we were together for 8 until we got, you get my point. We were together for a while until we got married. So it's one of those things, hey, if you're going to be together forever, what is the rush to get to all
why ruin a good thing?
Yeah. Have a good one, boss. I'll talk to you soon. Thank you so much. Thank you. Talk to you soon, bub.
Yep, no problem.
All right, bye.
See you.
Loved it. There's the man.